Since Matty O broke onto the scene in an A-Rod jersey 2 sizes too big at the 2005 World Championship, the then 18-year-old has captivated disc golf fans with his over-the-top celebrations, infectious original personality, unique style, and solid play ever since. 18 years later, still without a signature win at the MVP Open, Matty O from Chase Card gets hot late, rattles off 6 birdies with the entire audience in attendance buzzing with excitement, and even more rooting at home for history to happen as he steps up to his putt on 17 with a choice to play it safe and lay up, or all but seal his first victory with a birdie putt from 38 feet away with a car alarm going off. It's Swiss cheese with the disc golf world. We're celebrating Discmas with yet another player profile video, this time with the much beloved and still one of the greats on tour, Matty O. Hope you guys are enjoying all the content. If you are not subscribed, make sure to do so. It goes a long way to help grow the channel. I'm gonna jump into what was the best season of Matty O's long career, and if you stay to the end, I promise to have accomplished something no other before me has yet to do. Matty O came into the 2023 season after re-emerging on the scene, finishing in the top 10 the previous year, which was one of his best seasons of his career and first with new sponsor Westside Disc. Though no aspect of his game pops out like other players in the top 10, the crafty vet's consistency, ability to minimize damage, and understanding of his own game keeps him among the best in the game. Disc golf has been a fixture for Matty O's entire life, as his dad James Oram not only owned a disc golf shop, but was both Player of the Year and Volunteer of the Year, and one of the most influential figures in disc golf in Alabama and much of the South. And with a recent return to a full-time tour finding success, as much as touring and living out of a beat-up station wagon his dad got him can be considered a success, he might be one of the players to benefit the most from the COVID boom. His charismatic personality, which is a mixture of simple Southern hospitality with a college SEC fans' Bourbon Street antics, with a voice that has a rhythmic style of a beatnik, stuck out to fans as much as his sincerity, making him one of the fastest rising players in popularity among both players and fans. Even with him being a fan favorite, many questioned if he could maintain that same level of success with many of the up-and-coming young players, especially with an extended tour with even more stops than last season, including a European run, his first ever. His 2023 tour would keep the 36-year-old away from home longer than he has ever had in his entire life. And through that grind of the season, Matty answered the naysayers by finishing with his highest total prize winnings in a season, 3 podiums, a new 4-year contract extension, 6th in dgpt points, his first Elite Series and dgpt playoff win of his career, ending his status of the highest rated player not to have won an Elite Series or major victory. Not bad for the houndstooth wearing disc golf mouth of the South, whose sunglasses pop off more than his first down celebration. Matty started with a return to LVC for the first time since 2017, when the event was still called the Gentleman's Club and handed out Sapphire Bucks to the player. Day 1 saw him finish the day tied for 24th with a 3-under after a disappointing round that had him bogey 3 holes. Matty would return over the next 3 days with a controlled play resulting in only 1 more bogey over the remainder of the tournament, moving him up the leaderboard to finish in the top 10, tied for an 8th place finish. Matty would follow that up with another top 10 finish the very next Elite Series event, Waco. Day 2 would see him birdie 9 straight at 1 point, again overcoming a slow day 1. Found himself 10 under through 14 on the day, and had it not been for 2 late bogeys, he would have finished even better than his 7th place finish. After those 2 starts and a hot round that kept him on coverage, for that moment the question surrounding Matty would be for naught, only to follow that up with his worst round of the season to that point, shooting 1 over on day 1 at the Open at Austin. He would finish with 7 under on the final day, but the weekend would be his worst finish of the year. His response would be to win the next 2 tournaments, both A series off the dgpt tour, one of which was the Tallahassee Open, the home course to kick off the upcoming 2024 season. In classic fashion, the one who has been best described as a Bob's Burger character went on to thank Paul for not attending so he could win. Matty would return to the tour and putter along the next 2 stops, finishing 30th and a 24th place before going into the first major of the season, Champions Cup, where he finished 5th last year. Matty is a well-established woods player, despite many leaving him off those lists when the bests are discussed. He has the flex game to carve any line, has an above-average finger pop, and is an elite scrambler, finishing 8th on the season in that stat. He would find himself in 18th place after 2 days of average scores, only for him to have his best round ever on this track, an 11 under on day 3. The score would only see 4 total players score better over the entire 4 days. There was no stopping Isaac Robinson though, as he ran away with that event faster than Matty O at a buffet serving crab legs. And even though Matty O would match his worst score on the final day of the 4-day event with a 6 under, it would still net him another top 5 at the iconic W.R. Jackson course. After what was another top 5 at a major, Matty the following week at the Dynamic Disc Open in Emporia found himself on lead card after a 10 under on day 1. He would go on to have the best finish of the season to that point, a 3rd place, but was overshadowed by Vinny's C1X yips and a breakout performance that saw the lowest rated player to win an Elite Series win. Parker Welk took it down, rubbing salt further into those wounds. He would never drop below 3rd place and only saw a single bogey during the entire event. Matty would follow the podium finish the next week with a top 20 at the Shortened Des Moines Challenge. The very next event, he would fall 15 spots on the final day and finish outside the top 20, taking 23rd place at the Preserve, on a course where you need to attack. A costly double bogey on 6, followed by 2 more bogeys, would be too many lost strokes to compete. However, for the remainder of the season, Matty would finish outside the top 15 only once from there, starting with an 8th place finish at the KC Open prior to heading to Europe for the first time in his career for 2 tournaments. He'd finish in the top 10 at his first European stop, the PCS Open, where he had one of his better putting performances of the season. From there, he would head to Nokia, Finland for the European Open and the 2nd major of the year, where he had a rough opening day on the famed Beast course with 4 bogeys on his very first day playing the tournament. But he would climb his way back into 15th place after the final 3 days finished. He would end up moving a total of 39 total spots, and despite wanting more success, it was a very respectable showing for his first time overseas. It was at this point where fatigue and an extended tour began to show. Add weather issues that made for sloppy conditions and halted play over the next few stops, it made for a difficult time that wore on Matty mentally, which he acknowledged in interviews. He would have disappointing back-to-back days on the final 2 of Ledgestone, where he finished 15th at the playoff, and a return to one of the most familiar and successful tracks, Idlewild, where he finds himself within the top 10 nearly every year, didn't help relieve the extended time away from home. He was able to play more to his rating and ended up inside the top 10 yet again with a 7th place finish. After a long weekend at Deglow where he finished 28th place, Matty went into the free week exhausted, homesick, and needing to make a decision whether to head straight to Vermont for some much needed rest and extra practice rounds before Worlds like every other top 10 player, or play what seemed to be a meaningless silver event in New York. And though many felt Matty was trying to chase that elusive win with a very limited player pool, Matty revealed later that it was more superstition heading into his Worlds run than trying to get his first win on tour. According to him, he always plays an event the week prior to Worlds because he found success early playing that way. That, and to compete with the mental fatigue, Matty instead threw himself further into disc golf, playing more specialty events, skins matches, and making other content till after the MVP Open, when he would return home before USDGC, choosing instead to keep himself even busier to not allow time for him to miss home. Before a disc was thrown at the event, everybody knew it would be a 2-horse race between Matty or Ezra Robinson, and the two did not disappoint over the 3 days. Yet Ezra was able to shatter their course record on the final day to beat the vet convincingly. Matty would then go to Worlds at the familiar Smuggler's Notch property with past success on the 2 famed courses. He took 2nd place there the year prior, and with this tournament's 2 additional days, looked as though he should have a solid showing. Still one of the best woods throwers on tour for the Brewster Ridge course, and enough control for the technical Fox Meadows track. Over the first 3 days, Matty was putting together solid rounds that found him near but outside the top 10. It wasn't until the final 2 days that he put together his 2 best rounds. Day 4 saw him play a clean 10 under, where he finished the round with 6 straight birdies. The effort moved him up 8 places and put him on the chase card, only to follow that up with another clean round, this time tying the hot round of the day, a 13 under on the final day, finishing on the podium tied for 3rd and 3 strokes behind winner Isaac Robinson. Yet another podium finish at a World Championship. The combined 23 under over the final 2 days was better than every player's 2 best days, with the exception of Eagle McMahon, who pushed from even further off the leaderboard and tying Matty for 3rd. Despite the tie and the 3rd place, Matty's finish went unnoticed by many, overshadowed by a rising young player who took down his 2nd major of the year in Isaac, and the 2 highlight reel bombers in AB and Eagle. Yet it seemed that Matty was playing some of his best disc golf heading into yet another familiar wooded track, which had plenty of history for him also in MVP Open. MVP was a scene of another close finish by Matty, or yet another example of one that that got away as he lost his final day lead by a single stroke on the final hole of the tournament, the first time he attended the event in 2010. Yet another feather in the not-so-great can't-finish Matty O storyline. However, Matty was playing his best disc golf heading into the event and would walk away with a share of the lead after day one, only for him to put together his worst day of the four the following day, shooting an even round to drop him down tied for 7th place. The forecast of strong winds as a result of Hurricane Lee had many looking to simply survive the round, as play was actually halted at one point during the day. Matty would shoot a 6-under, tying the hot round of the day with local and last year's winner Simon Lizotte. The 6-under moved Matty back onto chase card and only 2 strokes off of leaders in Vinny and Simon. Many fans looked forward to a Simon and Vinny battle and were rooting for a repeat victory from Simon on his local course. Many seem to have forgotten that it had been 6 years since the leader heading into the final day actually won the event. Even Simon won from chase card just the year prior. The difficulty of these woods needs to be mentioned, as in the past showed that it wasn't enough to play on skill alone. Instead, found winners that put together some of the hottest rounds late. The track has 5 holes that are in the top 20 most difficult holes on tour that year, 3 of those in the top 10, the most of any other stop on tour. So the course allows for plenty of opportunities to gain strokes on the field and leaders at points in the tournament. Matty would start with only a 2-under on the front 9 with a single bogey, and a more than fortunate skip off the water on the famous 8-hole, resulting in a much needed birdie after that bogey on 7. Yet after early struggles from the leaders, his score was good enough to see him tied for second behind a surging Aaron Gossage, who was on the same chase card as Matty. After the 2 finished hole 12, Gossage led Matty by a single stroke with 6 to play, and from the looks, only Simon who could catch them from lead card. With both Matty O and Aaron Gossage pushing for the victory late, difficult to go unnoticed that the two had similar storylines of battling for wins only to find themselves just outside a number of times in their career. But after back-to-back birdies, Matty looked to be in more control. The lead would be erased after Matty hit a 38-footer for birdie the very next hole for his now 3rd birdie in a row. Matty never looked back from there and would later go on to say he blacked out on the course. Like some damn Frank the Tank debating James Carville on the role of government in supporting innovation in the field of biotechnology, having him hit some flow state where it was he and the course alone. He had his disc check up beautifully on 14 for another birdie, this one giving him sole possession of the lead with only 4 holes remaining to play. Shaved some trees the very next hole for yet another birdie, his now 5th in a row on 15. Chatter of the run began to circle the course and every fan in attendance as they began to shift their rooting interest from Simon to now rooting for a Matty O victory. And let me tell you, the buzz on that property was second to no other live disc golf event I've ever been, including multiple world championships. Everybody knew where Matty was on the leaderboard, no matter where they were on the course. He would flex his way through the trees like we have seen him do countless times in the woods on 16 for yet another in the circle birdie look, which of course he absolutely buried. And after the birdie on 16 and missed putt by Aaron Gossage, Matty O's lead then extended to 5 strokes. Heading into one of the easiest holes on the course, 17, where a birdie would allow him to play the difficult 18 for par and would ultimately force his competitors to birdie out. The Matty chants and cheers grew after he hit his birdie putt for his 7th straight birdie in a row and all but victory in his hand. Matty would play the difficult 18 for par and end his round. The man had 12 podiums, 60 top 10 finishes in Elite Series events over the 20 years, and now was only 35 minutes away from the lead card wrapping up their round till he could officially celebrate his first Elite Series win, his largest payout of his historic career, and the joy of jumping into Maple Hills Pond. To say the least, the party and celebration was electric and emotion-fueled, easily one of the best moments of the entire tour, and one that I will never forget that I was able to witness firsthand. With the emotions of the win, the longest season of his career, and the end of the tour in sight, he was still able to put together another top 15 finish at USDGC, which saw him finish the 4 majors with a podium finish, a top 5, and 2 top 15th place finishes. And guys, that wraps up Matty O's stellar season, and another one for our player profile. And at the very least, I was able to accomplish an entire Matty O video without mentioning Alabama or Roll Damn Tide up to this point, proving that you can cover Matty O without using the 2 most common tropes. That alone deserves a sub if you're still here and not already subscribed. If you like the vid, make sure to like and comment, and make sure to return every day for more videos all the way to Christmas.